So, welcome to everybody from the honeymoon. I'd like to take a moment just to ask you each you play such a pivotal role in this film, just to introduce yourself, say your name, and what was this role you played in the film or how you participated, and where are you zooming from today? I'll start with you at the top, Bianca.
Hi everyone, my name is Bianca Isaac. I am the writer-director of the Honeymoon movie, and I'm currently zooming in from South Africa.
Okay, great. Anyone can go next. Left bottom,
Good.
you say?
Okay, I'll go. Hi, everyone. My name is Kajal. I'm a lead actress in the film. I'm also the casting director, and I'm zooming in from Durban, South Africa.
Right.
Hi, hi everyone. I'm Tumi Morake. I play Knox in the film, and I'm zooming in from Atlanta, USA.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, great. So let's start the conversation. I think I want to start with you, Bianca. As the screenwriter and in your very early script phase, how did you go about developing these characters and their story arcs? And then you just happened to find the most perfect actresses to play these roles.
Very interesting. I wanted to create a story about women in their mid-30s and kind of the true experiences that women in our lives were going through. And I decided to look at a married individual, a person who wants to desperately get married, and somebody who is totally fine being single but is looking for love in other places. And that's how we ended up developing Kat, Knox, and Lou. So Kat's character, who drives the film at the moment, is somebody looking for love in all the wrong places. But often we find women who own their own right, who know who they are, but I'm just with the wrong person who suppresses me or makes me feel like I'm nobody without them. And that, even though in the film it's portrayed through a career, in life it's very true for those characters among women in their everyday lives, whether it's in your relationships or at partnerships at work. So it was very interesting for me to explore and flesh out that character and how one actually finds their voice within.
Right.
The other character, Knox, which is played by the fabulous Tumi Morake here. This character was important for me because of the day and age that we live in. So the success of who you are as an artist or who you are as a career actually doesn't translate well into the world that is now driven by social media and numbers and likes. And it doesn't matter if it's some guy from Vietnam who's commenting on your status or some Forex person. It's this idea that social media is what we need. And so what we threw into that was this idea that even when you get cast into films and TV series, people are looking for your numbers versus who you are as a talent. So it's interesting to explore the extent we were willing to go for a like or for a follower.
Yeah.
And then the third character in the film is Lou, played by Minnie Dlamini, and that is the married character who some women have those dreams of all I want to do is be a mom and be a wife and my life will be fulfilled. And then you get all of that. And then you realize that is only how the world sees me. I will forever be only mom and the person, and to my husband, I will forever be the woman that takes care of his kids. And oftentimes that ends in divorce or cheating. And so what was really interesting was to bring those two characters together to show that we can actually talk about our lives. And you don't have to be married to do this. You should be able to talk to your partner about anything you feel. And so those changes and tweaks in your life can happen. And so bringing those three characters together were really important because that, in a nutshell, kind of identifies almost 90% of women in the
Yeah,
world.
it's not true what you say. It really is. Um, it also struck me when I watched the film, that when I screened the film, that the friendships between the three lead actresses or the lead characters just felt so real. So, as a director for the film, how did you tell us a little bit about your process in the pre-production phase and when you brought the cast together? How did you guys go about to make the story feel so authentic, or what's your process?
So the main thing behind all of this was it's so easy to play us up against each other as women. I mean, it takes a phone call after this to tell you, oh my God, did you hear what Kajal said on that? And then the next thing, Tumi and I ganging up on Kajal, or we're hating on her for different reasons. It's that easy to gaslight women. And showing an authentic friendship for me was something I really wanted to bring across in terms of having each other's backs, knowing that I can make all the wrong decisions today, but tomorrow I'm going to pick up the phone and speak to my besties who are going to say, I told you so, but let's get through this together. So I'm glad that that hero actually came out in the story. Casting was kind of a dream for me. I got to work with the most talented women in this country. Kajal and I had made a film together before called 3 Days to Go. And so when I was writing this character, I called her up and said, I want to write this character for you. And she did not even blink. She was down. Tumi, I worked with her on 3 Days to Go as well, but on a much smaller scale. And I always tell the story about how I've been wanting to steal her since university and just write a movie for her. So it was a dream when she also was like, I'm down, let's go. And I went back and I started writing for these women. And it's so interesting when you start writing for a character, but I can hear Kajal's voice and I can hear Tumi's voice leading this process. And then we needed one more person to fill the trio, and we went back to our hometown, Durban, and I had a meeting with Minnie Dlamini, and she was so embodied the character because it was nothing like who she is, or it did not fulfill it wasn't as typecast for her. So she agreed to join, and then we went off and wrote these parts. In fact, very early on in the process, around draft 2, which is the most nerve-wracking draft to let anybody read, let alone draft 1. And I had a cast read through with the girls, and the feedback was amazing. They instantly picked up in the friendship. They instantly connected in these roles. And I think that was really important to shift, because by the time we started filming, we were on draft 9. And so we had a lot of time to take in feedback. Yeah, sounds about right. I'm getting better. The previous film, I went into production in draft 11, so I think we're getting
It's very scary still, but it's lovely that you had them in mind from the start. I think that's what that comes out on screen, definitely. So over to you, Kajal, and to me. So when you first read the script, did you find it very easy to identify with the characters? And what was your process to bring the character to life? So I'll start with you, Kajal.
Relating to the character, not so much initially. And this was my first lead role. It was also my first acting role after about 3 or 4 years. 3 Days to Go was the last one we did. Characters obviously were very different. But I think what really affected me the most was the fact that I hadn't acted. There was a pandemic thrown in and I had a baby. So the thoughts that were going through my mind was, can I do this? Or can I act? You start asking yourself these questions, and you don't really share this with anyone. And I didn't share this with Bianca. I mean, she could feel my nervousness and anxiety around it. But truly, because motherhood literally knocked me out the park, I started questioning who I was and whether I was able to do this again. And thankfully, I did have Bianca and Greg, the producer, and who would always give me some sort of encouragement. But still, if you don't actually believe it yourself, you feel like you can't do it. So I pretty much had to go back to school, and I did an acting course. And I think that not only gave me a boost when it came to the acting or my ability or skill, it actually boosted my confidence. And as I did that, I grew more confident in myself, and then myself as an actor, and then I could actually go through, dive into the script and do my own character analysis, and make Kat what she actually is, or how we wanted her to be. So it was quite a process for me. And I was super excited because I was looking forward to working with Tumi and Minnie. And although we knew each other, we weren't like really close as friends. And it was the first time we worked so intimately together. And it was an absolute dream working with Bianca and these two, my two co-stars. I really felt like we connected on screen and off screen. So it was easy for us to then bring the characters together.
It definitely comes across. Definitely. And you, Tumi?
Yeah. When I read the script, I felt as if Bianca was tapping into this fantasy person I have. Like, I've realized that there's this perception that Tumi Morake is wild and out there. And so she wrote a character that, in my view, was wild and out there. This was before I then tapped into like the subtext. Because Bianca has a gift when it comes to giving characters subtext. I mean, especially with comedy, because usually comedy is so flat, right? Like the kind of comedy I enjoy is one where it's layered, you know? You're like the comedy is coming from you, not from the character themselves. You are laughing at this, but you're laughing out of discomfort, or you're laughing out of, familiarity. And so I read the script with the ladies around, and I went, oh my gosh, she's not just some wild party animal. This is someone who will do the ride or die for her friends. This is someone who is actually kind of facing humiliation on a daily basis and is trying to prove herself, and still has to live with, under the ghost of her mother. And so I was like, this is beautiful. I'm actually going to get to work. Because I mean, I'm one of those artists who I switch off the minute to make it too easy for me. And she didn't make it easy for me, because she wrote these two rich characters in Lou and Kat, who were going through a very clear path. And then she wrote this Knox, who at face value, you just go wild child. But then you ride with her and you go, oh my word, there's so much going on with this girl.
Yeah.
And so to read the script then, and then go into a pandemic, and then come out of a pandemic and have to go and play or something else, because I feel like a lot of us withdrew, and when we had to arrive on stage
Right.
and
Yeah.
pardon?
We became all a bit antisocial.
Yeah. And then suddenly we had to come together and then find this camaraderie, but also be in the world as if we've been in the world all along. So it was great. It was a great coming out party. I call this film the coming out party, because when we all agreed to do this and we did the read through, two of my co-stars were not mothers, and one was like one hadn't even acted in a long time. And then when we met, it was like, okay, all right, we're dusting off the cobwebs of socializing and acting, and suddenly people are new people. Because I believe when you become a mom, when you have your first child, you are someone else.
Yes.
You are reborn as something else. And so I had to also meet them on that level. And it was fantastic. It really, I think the challenge was this: we were in a soft lockdown still. So you want to relax, but you also are freaking out that, listen, one of us gets this thing and the whole crew gets it. We're going to have to put, it's going to be tools down, we must wait it. So there was also that fear of, oh my Lord, please let us just finish this film without ever having to stop because there's a breakout.
Realized that you had to go through all of that with COVID in the background. That's quite challenging. And I mean, you guys just did a phenomenal job there, hearing the story. The film was then obviously shot in Durban and in Zanzibar. So I think our audiences here, Bianca, would like would probably want to know, why Zanzibar, and why did you choose Zanzibar as the honeymoon destination?
Zanzibar was a blessing in disguise. We had originally chosen Mauritius, and we had gone and done a whole prep, and we were ready to start filming. Landed back in South Africa, ready to put everybody on a plane and go back and shoot this puppy when the entire world got locked down. And then we had come to a crossroads. It was a year and a half later, and we needed to make this film come hell or high water. So I had been to Zanzibar a few years ago, and then Kajal's been there quite a few times. And then we thought, okay, we understand that Tanzania has a whole lot of issues right now, but Zanzibar doesn't. Let's just go there. So Greg and I went off. And the reason I call it a blessing is visually, it has so much more to offer in Africa. And it's literally 4 hours away. It's beautiful. The people are beautiful. It's got 4 different landscapes all at once. And I know sometimes when you watch the film, people will want to know, oh, did Zanzibar give you money to make this? But it's a character in the film. So instead of me going the route of showing you, hey, here are all the beautiful tourist shots, and then we're in the story, I chose each section of Zanzibar to tell a version of the story. That's why there's this big beach thing, there's the big Stone Town thing, and
sort of back alley.
yeah. And then the entire, I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but the entire chase just exposes the landscape in a way that was not going to be possible by saying, hey, look at me walking around and having a look at all these beautiful things. So it ended up being really cool. It was hard work because Zanzibar doesn't have a film structure.
Right.
So we literally packed everybody and the gear into a plane and flew into the country and did what we needed to do.
With your little red suitcase, I'm sure. But now, okay, so now over to the cast. So, Kajal, you obviously had to leave your little one behind, or did the little one come along? What was it like? What was your experience like filming in Zanzibar?
I often say this, filming the honeymoon was one of the toughest times in my life, because from the get-go, my son was coming with us. Even when I was pregnant and we were planning to shoot in Mauritius, and he was going to be 3 months old. When you're not a mother, you have no idea. So my big mouth, I would tell everyone, oh, my son's my child is coming with me, regardless. And he's 3 months old. I'll just take someone along. And I must say, I'm thankful that it didn't happen when he was 3 months old, because I would never have managed it. So I've eaten a lot of humble pie ever since becoming a mother, a lot of humble pie. And then he was meant to come along with me wherever we were shooting, but circumstances had it that we moved locations and we moved shoot dates, and his dad couldn't come, Granny couldn't come, and it was just better for him and safer for him to stay at home rather than be with us in Stone Town. So I was stuck between a rock and a hard place and had to leave him at home at 18 months old. And yes, some mothers would say, oh, it's fine, he's 18 months old, but becoming a first-time mother during COVID, during a pandemic where you've just been cocooning with your child for 18 months, and then to be separated from them is no easy task. I mean, nothing is easy in motherhood, and then nothing was easy during COVID. But it was the best decision for him, and I'm still breastfeeding at the time. So then one of the funny things that happened all the time is that they had to give me time and space to go pump. So even though I was in Zanzibar and Stone Town, my lovely director gave me time to go pump. So, over the comms, the AD, they'll say, oh, where's Kat? And then you'll just hear someone say, she's pumping, Kat's pumping. Okay, great, So it was normal.
How that went down in Zanzibar, she's pumping.
Exactly. And I had all this liquid gold, Ricky, like, what do you do with it,
Oh,
You can't
did you,
dump it.
Bianca, how did that, or did you just pack it and stack it, or in
No,
a cooler?
I was donating it to anybody that wanted to shower with it or you know, wanted it. No, to be honest, I just used it for myself and gave it away to whoever wanted it because I could not throw that down the sink.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was it. So, and I did come back and breastfeed my son successfully. But what was tough about it? Yeah, what was tough about it was I felt all alone. But the positive thing was there were so many beautiful hearts on set and so many women who were mothers or just compassionate and caring. And even in my quiet moments, even though I never shared how I was feeling or articulated it, someone would come up to me and give me a hug and say, I know you're missing your son and it's okay. And it really made me feel better about things. And I felt part of this beautiful team. And honestly, it was one of the best sets I've ever worked on, purely because of this reason and the compassion that basically, you know, it was an undercurrent of compassion that was consistently happening on our set. And I was super grateful for that.
It really comes across in the film, I think, because it looked like you had the best time in Zanzibar. But Tumi, tell us your story. How was your experience?
Sure. So when we started filming in Durban, I was still in recovery from surgery. So by the time we went to Zanzibar, I was like in the clear. I like had my doctor's clearance to just live my best life. So Zanzibar was kind of also me going, um, and I'm a free person naturally. So also I was enjoying um, guilt-free being away from home, just getting to just work focused and enjoy some sun. Um, it was a gorgeous place to be. It was also interesting to be taken back down my route as a mom just through Kajal, just around pumping and like don't let those boobs dry out. Then stop pumping. Uh, and it was funny because then it also, people exchanging pictures of how their babies are doing, and you had these little moochie moochies going through their little like what's it called, development stages, and I'm showing pictures of full grown kids who are having full on conversations with me. So that was interesting. And I guess, you know, because Zanzibar was the more physical side of the film, now this is where we really had to get into it. Um, I suppose that was the challenge of now you have to get fit again. We've been sitting at home for so long during lockdown. I've just come out of surgery and, my body's also starting to come back a little bit. So it was very funny for me going, listen, some of these scenes, hey, I'm going to look a little smaller than I looked in the scene before. It's going to be very interesting. But I guess Zanzibar really was like being in a filtered version of South Africa on some level. Because I was like, these places look so similar. Durban and Zanzibar look so similar in certain aspects. So I just felt like I'm in an extension of home. And that was great. It was just sad as well because people see this gorgeous place and they're like, "Oh, you were in Paradiso." I'm like, "Yeah, but there were times we couldn't shoot because the sand was too hot. Our feet were gonna burn." So it was gorgeous, but we kind of had to wait it out. So yeah, it was a beautiful experience. I think the tough thing was just you have to remember you're not on holiday. You're at work, but you're like, "It's so beautiful. Can it just go look?" And you're like, "No, yes, just go."
And how, so
They had a lot of fun, Ricky. There were nights when, after rap, our producer Greg would be like, "I'm gonna go round up the girls now." I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Nope, I'm taking them straight back to their hotel rooms." And there you would go, "Oh, I found you guys. Let's go."
He really would round us up.
yeah, no, it did look like it was a lot of fun. So I think, it sounds to me like you've had a great experience. And Bianca, you were saying earlier, I was going to ask you, you know, the movie The Honeymoon is a fun, you were calling it a coming out party. What did you call it to me? A coming out of COVID party kind of film. And I think, you know, we sometimes call it the chick flick or the great ladies' night out. And I think, Bianca, you kind of summarized already for me. I was going to ask you, what do you believe is the message of the film? But I think you've already kind of said that right in the beginning, because you kind of ticked all the boxes for women, 90% of women with emotion and everything else. So I think in closing, I'd like to ask you ladies, or maybe each of you just to say to me, so as SAFF this year, we are also extremely excited to once again have some of our films in selected cinemas in Australia, in New Zealand, and nobody is scared to come out to cinemas anymore. So tell me, what do you believe makes this film a must-see experience in cinemas?
Okay, I'll give it a bash.
Okay.
Welcome to SAFF, everybody. We're going to be screening The Honeymoon in New Zealand, in Australia, Sydney, and Melbourne. And I cannot wait for you guys to experience The Honeymoon movie on the big screen. The film was made for cinema, and to enjoy the beauty of it, it can only be experienced inside a cinema. So I would urge everybody to head down to your cinema, your selected cinema that's going to be playing the film, and catch The Honeymoon. I do believe that going to cinema is still very important. It is a very big part of our entertainment culture. It's a part of the arts, like going to theater and watching a play, like supporting a stand-up comedian. Going to the movies is part of our culture. Sitting at home is not a culture. So I urge everybody out to put on something nice, take a scarf because it does get chilly in there, get your favorite movie snack, and come witness The Honeymoon in full action.
Oh, fantastic. You just did a great job.
Bianca, you said it all.
Yeah.
So well.
Just going to leave it over to our fabulous cast. Is there any last words you want to say or comments about the film in general before we go?
I have seen guys go berserk for this film. We may call it a chick flick, but it is the kind of film your man never knew he needed to see. So you definitely have to see The Honeymoon. It is a whole other way to see us. Has to be seen in the cinema because it looks better on the big screen. And it's great to just be in a room full of strangers laughing at the same thing again, just to remind ourselves we're in this together. That's like for me, my favorite thing about going to the cinema, and it's my favorite thing about watching this film in the cinema, is because you just get to turn to a complete stranger and be like, right, right, and then you're back there again. So do it.
And for you, Kajal?
It's a chick flick, but anyone can watch this, and this is why we call it an adventure comedy. When you make a film this beautiful, if I may say so myself, you have to watch it on the big screen. And let's consider it self-care. I mean, where can you really watch a film when no one's interrupting you, you're not looking at your phone, your kids are not tapping you on the back or saying mom from here or there? Just treat it as self-care, get dressed up, go watch the film, have a good laugh. And I promise you, you are going to have a lot of good laughs.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's a heartfelt thank from all of us at SAFF, and especially for Tumi getting up so early in Atlanta. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best with the film and your theatrical release in South Africa.
Thanks so much, Ricky.
Thank you, SAFF, for having us.
Thank you.